Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating system of thought, one that kind of bridges the gap between modern science and ancient practice. We're talking about chaos magic and its fundamental laws of change.
So, let's just start with a huge question, one that really sits at the heart of this whole philosophy. Is our reality just a bunch of random, chaotic events all bumping into each other? Or is there some kind of deeper, hidden order to it all? Well, this system suggests the answer is both.
Okay, let's get into the core of it. Chaos magic is built on this fundamental duality. On one side, you've got cosmos. That's order, stability, harmony. And on the other side, you've got chaos. That's all about chaos, change, and creativity. But here's the most important part. They are not enemies. They're two sides of the same coin, constantly interacting, constantly in a kind of dance. Now, this might sound a little backward at first, but this way of thinking sees order not as the opposite of chaos, but as something that actually emerges from it. You know, think about water flowing nice and smooth in a pipe. If you crank up the speed, it gets all turbulent and chaotic, right? But if you could zoom way in, you'd see that turbulence is actually incredibly organized. Order is literally born from chaos. This quote just nails it. It's not a fight, it's a dance. Reality is always moving between these periods of calm and periods of upheaval. You see it everywhere in nature, and you for sure feel it in your own life. You know, those times of stability followed by some disruptive but totally necessary change. So let's look at the foundation this is all built on. To be really clear, when we say magic here, we're not talking about spells and potions. It's defined as the art and science of causing change to happen in line with your will. And it's all built on what are called universal system laws. These are principles that apply to absolutely everything, from the entire cosmos down to the complex system that is you. These are based on real, observable laws of nature. And these universal laws are actually super logical and practical. Here are 3 of the 6 main ones. First, every single system has leverage points, little spots where a tiny nudge can create a huge change. Second, in a really complex system, like your career or a relationship, the real cause of an issue is almost never the obvious one. It's usually far away in time or space. And third, and this is a big one for personal growth, when you finally push on one of those leverage points, get ready for some turbulence. Things often feel like they're getting worse right before they get better. Okay, so how do we take those big universal laws and actually apply them to ourselves? Well, they get translated into a practical framework for changing your own life, the 9 laws of magic. These laws are all about how principles like paradox and synchronicity actually work inside our own minds. We're going to focus on a few key ones that you can start using right away. We've all heard of this one, right? The second law of chaos magic is the butterfly effect. You know the idea. A butterfly flaps its wings in one place, and weeks later it influences a storm system on the other side of the world. It just shows how incredibly sensitive complex systems are to their starting points. So what does a butterfly have to do with you? Everything. It means those initial conditions aren't just things happening out in the world, they are the tiny, subtle shifts inside you. Those little nuances of feeling, the thoughts that just flash by, the gut instincts you might normally just ignore. These are the seeds of major things to come. The real practice here starts with just learning to notice them. And that leads us straight to the third law. If those subtle feelings are the seeds, then magic points are the moments when the soil is perfect for planting. These are those critical forks in the road, those moments where one small decision can send you down a completely different path in life. This philosophy calls them our windows of free will, in the otherwise predictable flow of our lives. You know that feeling when you finally commit to a big change, and then suddenly everything seems to get harder? This old saying totally captures what happens when you act on a magic point. The old system, the old you, it pushes back. Things can feel more chaotic right before the breakthrough. That's not a sign you're failing, it's a sign the change is actually working. The 8th law is so cool because it brings it all together by defining creativity. And it's not just about painting or writing music, it's about solving problems. Real breakthroughs happen when you smash 2 different ways of thinking together. Like the story of Archimedes, right? He's stressing about how to measure the volume of the king's crown. Then he gets in the bath, sees the water level rise, and bam, he connects that idea to his problem. That's it. He created a new solution by shifting his perspective. Okay, so that's the theory. How in the world do we actually put this into practice? How do you go from just understanding these laws to really using them in your own life? So, here's the big secret.
Your life is already amplifying small things into huge outcomes because of the butterfly effect. It's happening right now, whether you know it or not. The whole point here is to stop being a passenger and to grab the steering wheel. You get to consciously choose which small changes you want to amplify. And it really breaks down into a simple three-step process. First, you practice awareness. You just get better at detecting those subtle feelings and shifts around you. Second, you learn to spot the magic point. That's the moment of decision, the window of opportunity. And third, you use what's called the magic lever, which is just your conscious will, to intentionally amplify a tiny, deliberate change in the direction you want to go.
This really gets to the heart of it. That magic lever isn't some mystical artifact. It's you. It's your ability to focus your will on one small thing at exactly the right moment. It is the most powerful tool you have for turning things around and redirecting the entire course of your life.
So what does it really mean to live this way? Well, it's about adopting a worldview that is fundamentally different from the one most of us are taught to have.
This really shows the contrast. The typical reductionist view sees the world as a big machine, something to be taken apart, controlled, and dominated. It's all about seeking stability. But the chaos magician sees the world as a single living thing. The goal isn't control, it's cooperation. It's about learning to live in tune with the natural flow of change instead of always fighting against it.
When you boil it all down, this is what it's really about. Chaos magic is a lens. It's a way of looking at the world that helps you see the hidden patterns in what looks random, to find the opportunity for growth inside of change, and to recognize the deep, beautiful order that is always emerging from chaos. And so, we end by turning it all back to you. Because according to this philosophy, the very act of thinking about these ideas has brought you to a magic point. A little window of free will is open. So the only question left is, what small choice, what subtle feeling, what tiny little thing will you consciously decide to amplify right now?